On this episode of ResiWeek, Snap starts carrying Sound United, CEDIA Expo's Launchpad, and Savant goes virtual. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 291, Short-Sighted.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Access Networks.
Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the AV industry. I'm your host, Matt T. Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week we are pleased to be joined by two of my longest-standing friends. First, we have Mr. Joseph Whitaker. He is the CEO of Thoughtful Integrations. How you doing, Joe?
I am doing well, and don't forget, now I'm contributing editor over at Connected Design.
Well, you can only have so many titles.
Look, I only do two a year.
And we have Mr. David Pedigo. He is the CEO at Auralex Acoustics. How you doing, Dave?
I am super. Thanks for asking.
Thank you so much for being here. This is going to air. We're recording Monday, but this is going to air on Wednesday after Expo has already kicked off. So we're going to talk about a couple of Expo things. But first, before we get into all things Expo, this comes to us from Residential Systems. Snap One is adding Sound United brands to their audio portfolio. Now, before you get all excited, they're not buying Sound United. They're adding it into their distribution. I read it. I did the exact same thing. I had a moment. This is not what this is. They're adding an assortment of SKUs from Denon Marantz Definitive Technology to its e-commerce platform and its partner stores across the U.S. This is a good-ish thing, I think, Joe, specifically because, to my knowledge, they don't have a massive catalog of AVRs. The Definitive thing is good, but AVRs, I think, is kind of where they're lacking. I know our version of a Snap distributor up here, that's their biggest, we'll say, gap in the market. What does this mean to D&M distributors or DMM customers at the moment who now have that opportunity to buy this from Sound United? Or I'm sorry, from Snap One.
I don't think that's the magic in this. I'm at the bar outside, and there's a pair of dice here, and I was going to show you, I was going to do rolling the dice, because
Nice.
Here's why this is actually important, right? So right now in today's world, getting an AVR of any kind is a crapshoot, right? Mm-hmm. And Snap learned something very early on during some other acquisitions when they acquired Control 4. That came with the whole catalog of partner products, right? So they had Sony projectors and AVRs. They had some other SKUs that were partner products. And then Snap said, speakers are great. Let's be a partner and actually sell clips, right? That happened. Mm-hmm. Right now, AVRs are the crapshoot. So me getting a Marantz right now is a crapshoot. Me getting a Sony right now is a crapshoot. And me getting a Denon is a crapshoot. Let's not even talk about Onkyo or Integra. Let's just stick with the ones in the story. So this allows Snap One as a whole to be a little more agile to filling an entire product catalog as a one-stop shop for their dealers. You flip to some of the other things that they're doing, like expanding their actual location presence. They're putting one right here in St. Louis. Whoa, mind-blowing. Well, also now they're doing that. They're bringing in, the Denon and the Marantz stuff. They're bringing in, some new speakers with the DevTech line, right? So we're in that market or that level where, like you talk about DevTech on-walls, LCRs. Mm-hmm. That on-wall LCR category is another category where it's a crapshoot. Can I get what I actually expect? Can I find something comparable at the same price, same quality? Snap is, with this move, to me, kind of shoring that up so that I don't have to call 20 different distributors saying, man, I need something like that 11 point whatever from Marantz. What do you got? I can just call my Snap guy and it'll be like, okay, we don't have that one. The Denon one's in a couple of weeks. Sony one we can get next week through Control 4. So it kind of, to me, it's an amazing move, especially after they went IPO. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. Let's be everything to everyone within our little industry.
Dave, let me ask you this, because this is to me, this is the dream. Snap One has a huge footprint. They have a massive e-commerce platform. Does this give them, shall we say, priority over every other little mom and pop distributor ship to, as Sound United and obviously all the other brands are working through that supply chain issue? Does this give the Snap One interface a little bit more, shall we say, demand to get access to product faster?
Well, it should, and especially with all of the supply chain issues revolving chips that are really creating shortages really globally. What it does is it's scale. If I am, I'm not with Snap, I'm not a decision maker, but if I am, or with any of these companies, if I see Snap that has the buying power to sell directly to them, I'm going to be able to do that because I don't know what my future holds for sales. So when I'm selling to a larger company, they're buying more from me. I'm more enticed to do it. I know it sucks when you say, oh, well, I've been doing business with this company for 20 years. But, unfortunately, consolidation is what it is. This is the way of the world. And so I would be surprised if Snap does not have more priority than other companies because they can buy at a scale that these other distributors cannot. I mean, it is amazing, absolutely amazing to me what Snap has been able to accomplish over a relatively short period of time. I mean, they are now truly in many ways the 800-pound gorilla of the industry. And this is just them rounding out their portfolio and putting the squeeze on their competition even more.
Well, Dave, before Matt goes on, I do want to say me and you have had that conversation many times, and me and you have predicted the future on Snap AV a long, long time ago. They're fulfilling something that a lot of quasi-distributors, quasi-manufacturers don't do. Being able to fill that basket, being a one-stop shop with free and fast shipping, with logistics around the entire United States to get your product faster, cheaper, more efficiently than anybody else. They're fulfilling a promise that a lot of people have put out there before, but have not actually been able to do.
So let me ask either one of you kind of a follow-up to that. Is this, I don't want to say that this is the nail in the coffin of the smaller distributorship, but they seem to just be dropping like flies. Is this a massive warning shot across the bow of any 1 to 2, 3 location distributors?
No, I don't think any more so than what they've done over the last few years. If you were to look at the acquisition, starting with Triad, Control 4 getting Triad, then them buying Control 4 and now owning Triad. The other, distribution they bought. This is a very bold company who is taking a lot of risk, and every single thing that they seem to be doing is paying off. I mean, we've seen consolidation in many different areas of this industry. You look at VIA, where they tried to consolidate like 17 integrators that didn't work all that well. But it was tried. The one thing you can say about Snap is that they've come out of, for lack of a better term, out of nowhere, and they're bold. They're using technology to their advantage, and so anybody who says that them getting Sound United is like the death knell or is a warning shot, that warning shot was shot a long time ago, and so the companies that are going to really survive are the companies that are learning how to utilize software and technology to leverage their business. That's what we're doing internally. If you look at Amazon is a logistics company. The companies that provide the best service, the best shipping, all those are the ones that are winning.
Yeah.
And the thing is, kind of what Dave was saying about that is, when Snap AV does have a shortcoming, like you go to their website, it's a missing product. In most cases, it's not going to go to another distributor. It's going to go to a direct account. Great example. Right now, if you buy, which I don't, if you buy acoustic panels from Snap AV, they're unheard of. But you're going to go call Dave over at Orlex because they're going to go. That's like the mechanics of the way it's actually working right now.
Yeah.
When they fail, they're not failing against other distributors. You're going to end up going direct. The acoustic panels is a perfect example. Can't get them at Snap, you're going to call Dave.
Yeah, that's a good
You should
point.
call me anyway.
Yes,
He's a nice guy. Call
I
him.
send you text messages and all
He
kinds of
gets
stuff.
lonely sometimes. He likes to hear from people. All right, let's.
Gerald, checks in the mail.
Oh my gosh. Let's move on before we get into trouble. This comes to us from Residential Systems. CEDIA Expo 2021 announces the Launchpad brands. This is the kind of the update of Innovation Alley that it had years ago. It's that spot where if you are a new company or exhibiting for the first time, have only been in business for 3 years, I believe is the specifics that make that happen. You get to be in there. This year, that Launchpad is going to include not only the CEDIA Propel brands, but also Alturo Robotics, AutoSlide, Blonder Tongue Labs, DiGiorno, maybe? CDC Technology, Guard Dog Solutions, Haida Trim, Juke Audio, Crew Labs, and Oro. We know some people over at Oro. Dave, let me start with you on this. This is We've seen a lot of really good companies come out of Innovation Alley or now Launchpad. What does it mean to those companies that are exhibiting in the Launchpad this year? They're not going to get the same exposure. Can they leverage this to the same degree?
Absolutely. Now, is it going to be the same experience? No. And we know, there'll probably be about 2,000 attendees. It's going to be small, but the conversation should be quality. I'll go back to, so when we did, Expo, for those who don't know, I was with CEDIA for 14 years. When we did Expo in 2009-ish, just right after the crisis had really happened, the show for a few years was really small. And I mean, still a lot bigger than what this is going to be. However, you talked to a lot of the manufacturers at the time, and none of them were disappointed because they talked about the quality of the conversations and the quality of the attendees. It's not tire kickers. It's not people who aren't decision makers. Now, that being said, for anybody who's doing a booth, whether it's, Innovation Alley or whatever they're calling it now, or a regular booth, you have to get out what you put into it. So these people need to, when people are walking by, engage people, try to talk to people. You look at it, Alex Caposolatro said that he started with this. So absolutely, Alex did a little breakfast at Business Exchange, and then he did the Innovation Alley, and look how big the company is now. So look at this as an opportunity for quality of conversations, not quantity, but you have to be outgoing. You have to really try to get people to engage with you.
Yeah, I think that's key. Joe, whether it's been at Expo, whether it's been at Infocom, I have always found some great little product in the Launchpad areas or the Innovation Alley areas or the new show. I can't remember what Infocom calls theirs. What do you have to do as an attendee to make time to not blow past these small little booths? A lot of times that aren't as flashy, they're not as polished, they're not as, they're startups a lot of times. They're not this big behemoth, boom, hey, come see us and talk to us. How do you take the time to do that?
Well, this year I don't think that's going to be a problem. I'll start off there. I mean, I'm just saying. We were doing so well. I know. It had to be me though. So, but you harken back to previous years. I know you mentioned Innovation Alley. I harken back to when it was called Rookie Row. Remember that, Dave?
I sure do.
Oh my God!
I remember that.
I love Rookie Row, but that's one they didn't really like the name. But you go back to then, and I think about some of the brands. I always made half a day available for. I still to this day call it Rookie Row amongst like my little walking group. I have been a big Nexus 21 fan forever. No, they did not do Rookie Row. However, I found when people balk at the price of Nexus 21, I found Mantle Mount inside. It was Innovation Alley at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I found Neo, Neo, which is
The
now the
original
Control
Neo.
4 Wi-Fi
Yep.
remote, the original one. I found that guy in there. I found, my gosh, now that I think about it, I found so much great stuff in there.
Yeah.
Like I found back boxes for displays. I have found
Well, like Cool Components was in there for a while.
Cool
Like,
Components
there's
was in
so
there.
many, so many
and
good
those
brands.
those are my friends. Like I love the guys at Cool Components, and it's Mike. He's not there anymore. It's so sad. But anyhow, I digress. It has been one of those amazing spots to go to because it is a gauge for the future. Because you'll see stuff that is just so next year or the year after.
Yeah.
That you see those guys that are ready. It's like when Dave talked about Alex being there. I remember when Alex, his first year being there, Alex had a couch and a little like salamander TV stand with a TV on it. And that was it. Like,
Yep.
that was it. But that was the Launchpad. And I remember making a meeting on a whim because I like voice control. I said, I don't know. I'll go listen to these guys. And look at Josh AI now, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that started that jumping point. You talk about companies that are in the Propel program. You mentioned what is it called? The sliding door company. The
Auto Slide.
they're actually in the Propel program. So they're coming from the UK. It's awesome. Finally, we have a locking mechanism that can be tied to automation on a sliding door. We've needed that forever. They're there.
Yep.
Oro, we know those guys. They're there. So I mean, this year you're not going to have a problem finding the time to do it, but next year, make sure carve out 2, 4, 6 hours just to cruise it and talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing you're going to find there is you're going to find a lot of these people are typically engineers who have created a product from a problem.
Yep.
And so it's cool. I love it for sure.
And they'll help you solve problems, which is
Yeah.
kind of what we do.
For sure.
All right, gentlemen, let's hit our last topic of the day. This comes to us from CE Pro. Savant is going to host a virtual technology demonstration. They are essentially setting up their booth in a remote location. Some sort of ominous. Sorry, I had to. It was too easy. It just
Oh my God.
like I'm assuming it was in their warehouse somewhere, but they didn't say warehouse. It said remote location. Which makes it cooler, I guess. Anyways, it's set up in a secret location, is the byline, and they will be live streaming September 1st through 3rd. Now, before we dig too much into this, I got a little bit of a bone to pick with this, and I'm gonna get into it because that's more fun. They are doing this. They're broadcasting live. They're going to be showing videos and demos from their remote secret location show floor. But they're doing it September 1st through the 3rd, which is when this podcast is going to air. And that's when Expo's running. Now, they were one of the first to pull out of Expo. And they're not the only ones that pulled out. There's a bunch of other companies that have pulled out and have said they're going to do virtual events as well, specifically another S company. Their virtual event is in the middle of September to not mess with Expo. Joe, is this like pulling out is bad enough, and I get why they did it. I'm not here to talk about that aspect. I don't really care. It's done. All that stuff's over. But to do their event at the same time, is that a logistical thing? Is that a to the channel? Is that a way? Like, are they flexing muscles? Is it just really, really, really bad marketing? Like, I'm all in favor of them doing a virtual event, but the same time as Expo's going on.
Hold on. I got to crack a beer for this one.
Oh gosh,
because it's going to get deep. So
Mitchell
I think,
might have to edit some of this.
No, Mitchell's not going to have to edit any of this. So I think about several things. It's secret location. I'm assuming they already shipped the booth out to Indy. So wouldn't it be like a if they they just set it up in the old CEDIA headquarters? So it's in a warehouse somewhere, probably in that district. The thing about it is that's where it at. Of course, they spent a lot of money on that booth. By the time 2022 CEDIA rolls around, there's going to be new things for them to show, a booth redesign. They got one shot at this big investment. I'm not going to steal Dave's thunder on something we call this, but, at the same token, it's, if, now I'm going to throw the if out there, if Savant called maybe both Emerald and CEDIA and said, look, we spent all this money on this booth. We're not going to be on the show floor, but, here, we're going to advertise it as part of virtual CEDIA during CEDIA. Here's a couple bucks to sponsor some education. Here's a couple bucks to do this. All right, totally respectable. I totally get it. But having me been, I'm a Savant dealer. I've been a loyal Control 4 dealer and Sony dealer and all those guys for years and years. And all those guys that have dealt with me for decades know when things are wrong, I'm going to call you out. This time I do think that's wrong. Unless you want to call like Stealth Acoustics to get the patio theater or the really big TV from those guys, put it in your booth and live stream it from your booth for people that are on the show floor, I'm cool with that. But you getting those couple of thousand guys that are at the show to be on the floor to hunker down in a lobby or their hotel room, instead of seeing those people who actually did show up, man, I kind of got an issue with that because that's like those days when, some other brands used to get hotel rooms across the street or those other things Pedigo's going to talk about. I have a very big problem with this in that I see it overly opportunistic. I see it as a way to, because everybody that's on the floor is also going to stream it out there for all the people that don't go, right? But those are the people that made that. Jeremy Burkhardt, Ryan over at SI, all these guys that have still just said, I'm making the commitment. I'm going to go. I'm going to be on the floor. And you're going to take away from that? Like, kind of not cool.
Dave, is one, are we reading too much into this? And
No.
I don't. Okay, thank you.
Not even a little bit. The word you're looking for is scabs.
Ooh.
Now let me be clear about this. That's just the word that we used to call companies that would try to get would try not to be at the show and get
people at the show to show up to events.
Yeah, and pull people off. I'm not saying that about Savant. So let's be clear about something. Savant was a great supporter of the association. A few years back when we did the Future Technology Pavilion, they were absolutely amazing to work with from a technology perspective. They support the association. So I just used the word as scabs because that's what it was. I just think that this is...
It's tone deaf, right?
It's
just tone deaf.
It's short-sighted more than anything else. It's like they just don't realize the message that they're sending. And so, no, I don't think that it's intentional. I don't know them. I haven't spoken to anybody there. I haven't spoken to anybody at Savant in several years. But tone deaf is probably a great way to put it. I think it's more tone deaf than it is opportunistic. And it's like, hey, we invested all this money in CEDIA. Now we're not going for the Delta variant. And I get it. I mean, I truly get it. So I don't fault them for that. But I think they probably should have postponed it for a week and and trust me, I was down at Expo today. I was down at helping a friend with their booth. It's slim pickings for sure. But for those that have really invested in they're going to go out and support the dealers, just, put it off a week and then go there.
And I'll add to what Dave said, because Dave's, has dealt with, Savant for a long time on the CEDIA side. And we all know, all of us, it's one of the things I actually appreciate about him most of the time, is Savant is very different. I mean, who else shows up to CEDIA with a fuzzy remote? They had a fuzzy remote. Remember the little round thing?
Yeah.
It was fuzzy. They had a gold-plated one, too. They've always kind of just marched to their own drummer. However, this is not the drummer to march to. Like, seriously, it's not.
If there's a year to not be tone deaf, this is the year. Like we've seen a lot of entertaining debate online after companies have pulled out and after other companies have voiced their support and attendees and just, personalities in the industry have had a lot to say about what this expo is going to be this year. But like, of all the times to, just support the channel and support the people that are going to the event.
Well, I don't know what the conversations with Savant and CEDIA, the association. The hard part is that CEDIA, the association, no longer owns CEDIA, the show, and so you got multiple dynamics now because you have a for-profit company that owns the actual show, and then you have a not-for-profit trade association that really only represents the education at the show. And so those dynamics also play into it a little bit as well. But I do think it's just short-sighted.
At the end of the day, though, respectfully, that side doesn't matter. It's about the integrators. It's yes. Come on, it's about the integrators.
You've got Dave's kind of onto a little something there because he said you got the for-profit side, which is all about the money. And then you've got, the CEDIA side, which is education, certification, and standards. And, it's like Burkhart, Jeremy, Origin Acoustics. Oh, I'm wearing one of your shirts, by the way. Love you to death for going with you and Nick and the team. You and Nick and the team. I loved you for doing what you believe in and going. And at the same token, Snap One, I love you for doing what you believe in and not going and then doing something later. Savant, you're treading on a line in between the two that me as an integrator, I don't know if I can agree with that. Take one side or the other. Don't go in the middle and cheat the guys who are taking their, one way or the other. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, one thing I will say is that it's also easy to second guess these kind of things. These companies, take Savant as an example. I don't know what their booth space was, but I bet you it was large. And that's a heavy investment that you're putting into it. And then, so, you know what, we cancel and those funds go to the booth space for next year. Well, while the entity is still holding on to that, I need to get some return on my investment. So I understand it. I just think that it probably wasn't thought out nearly as well as it should.
But can you wait 2 weeks? Like that's the.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it just wasn't well thought out? And it's easy to armchair quarterback.
Well, yeah, that's what we do on this show. That's exactly what we do on this show. And again, I'll wrap it with this. I don't think any of us are bemoaning the fact that they're putting on something virtual. I think that's fantastic. But to echo Dave's point, like just put it off a week, man. Come on, wasn't that hard? Yeah. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap it there before any of us get letters from council. Mr. Pedigo, if people would like to connect with you, learn more about Auralex Acoustics, where can they do that?
Easy, one of two ways. Email dpedigo@auralex.com, or I'm at Dave Pedigo on Twitter.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Whitaker, if people would like to connect with you, learn more about Thoughtful Integrations or the magazine that you're an editor at large at, that one, where can they do that?
Well, you can always just find me direct, Joe at thoughtfulintegrations.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and other stuff. And also keep an eye out for, the crazy stuff that I'm going to do over Connected Designs. And before we leave, since this is going to air right during CEDIA, I'm going to give 3 CEDIA predictions. Number 1, wildest party of CEDIA will be Origin Acoustics Party. Number 2, most full booth during the show at one time will be Screen Innovations. And the most repetitively visited will be Rebook.
Rebook? Or reboot?
Where you go rebook your space.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to call shenanigans on that one. The most visited booth is going to be Origin Acoustics. The wildest party will be Origin Acoustics because they're probably the only one throwing one. And, trust me.
We're gonna make a bet because the way it usually works is Mark Fisher from Origin goes over to SI's booth and then gets the big crowd in there to do the giveaways at SI's booth. See, I got it, just historical insider. I'm thinking that booth will be packed. I know it will. And they've got so many announcements, so does Origin too. But it's I'm just sad that I'm not going to be there. It'll be my first one not there in 20 years.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just saying that you got a valid reason for it. Congrats, by the way, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, if you didn't know, Joe and his wife Sarah just had a baby, whereas I just have a border closure. That's why I'm not going. All right, gentlemen, we are going to wrap it there. Thank you all again for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter and pretty much every other social platform. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show, as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.